Charlotte tow truck had towed my car, and it was unnecessary to do that. They said I was parked illegally, but I only took 2 steps from my car, and dude was just hiding in his and ran over and booted my car. He didn't even tell me I couldn't park there or move. He did it anyway. It was like he could have warned me or something.
Litigation process in the United States, and talk about the basic steps to initiate a lawsuit. Let's get started. I'll take Mark. Classic.
Only because they did that, man. It's like they don't help the people. The cops still don't help the people. They just want their money. It's like they just want to scam folks.
So I have to say that the first step to initiating a lawsuit is to try to resolve your dispute without having a lawsuit. The reason for this is that lawsuits are pretty much almost always terrible experiences for everyone involved, even if you win. So I really encourage people, if you can resolve your differences outside of court.
I believe that if I'm going to spend money in a place, I would at least want the same respect back. No matter how unimportant it may sound to them, it's real important to me because they're taking my funds away from me. And I want to be able to do things too, not just give them money.
Then again, there are just times in life when you have to sue. Sometimes the only way to deal with the bully is to stand up to them. And in those instances when you have to sue, here are the basic steps for doing it. Once you've exhausted...
Well, I know it's only going to cost me about $300 to get the car at the pound. That's not the point. The point is that guy could have been more civil than what he was. They just want to scam people for commission. Just because you want your money, you still put other people's lives and their items in jeopardy just because you want your money.
To try to resolve the dispute outside of court, you can next escalate that by going to a lawyer and discussing your options. Sometimes it helps to write what's called a demand letter or a cease and desist letter, which is basically just like a nastygram written by a lawyer on their letterhead. You know, maybe you send it certified mail just to show the other side that you've talked to a lawyer. The lawyer thinks you have a case. The lawyer has a way of saying it that, you know, will cite to certain laws and show the legal basis for your side of the story. And it's all just a way of showing the other side that you're taking this seriously. You mean business.
Yes, sir.
I recommend that in those demand letters that you have a deadline for the other side to respond, so you're not just waiting before filing your lawsuit. Also, if you take steps to try to resolve your dispute outside of court, or you do things that would delay suing, like writing a demand letter instead of actually suing somebody, make sure you're keeping in mind your statute of limitations. A statute of limitations is the time limit that you have to sue somebody. So depending on where you are and what type of claim you have.
Lurking around other people's cars. And I was still standing beside mine. I stepped out my car for 2 seconds, closed the door. This man rushed over and booted it. Like, didn't even say, hey, bro, you not allowed to park here. He didn't even tell me that. He just wanted his commission. He didn't care who we was in the parking lot. It was about a good 6 or 7 cars in the parking lot with boots on them. And I was only in the parking lot for 2 seconds before he did that. He could have warned us or something.
For example, you know, I can only sue this person 3 years after I find out what they did to me. And so you need to figure out the statute of limitations first, because that tells you the time frame that you're working with here. So after you try to resolve it out of court, after you have your lawyer write a demand letter, neither of which are usually legally required, the next thing you need to do before suing is make sure that any contract you have with the other party allows you to sue. Sometimes contracts say, all right, if we have a dispute, we agree to do mediation, which is like a settlement conference where we just have somebody help us try to resolve our dispute voluntarily. So maybe the contract says we'll agree to have a mediation 30 days before anybody sues. Sometimes the contract might say we agree to go to arbitration, which is like a private court in a conference room outside of the courthouse, instead of suing. So whatever you do, make sure that you read any contract you have with the other side before you actually file suit, because the contract might also say where you have to sue. A dispute under this contract will be resolved under the laws of the district court or something like that. So read that contract before you sue. The next step to initiating a lawsuit is to write your complaint. So the complaint is the document, the lawsuit. It says your side of the story. It says the facts of why you are suing. It says the legal basis for suing.
I mean, dude still did it for no reason, though. He was just out there lurking on folks, scamming them. He could have gave us a heads up, a warning or something. Now we got to cough money out of our pocket because he want to get his commission. It cost $300 to get my car at the pound. I want to sue for at least $2,000 just for wasting my time.
And it says exactly what claims you are bringing against the other side. Breach of contract, negligence, infliction of emotional distress, whatever the claims are.
And a matter of fact, I see the signs in the parking lot, but I was only in the parking lot for 2 seconds. I wasn't there an hour, 2 hours, overnight, 24 hours. I was there for 2 seconds. You could have told me to leave. You ain't allowed to park here. The guy standing right there could have just told me that, instead of robbing me and taking my car away from me. Now I gotta go down to the pound and get it.
Write that complaint, or I recommend you have your lawyer write that complaint. Once you have the complaint written, you will file that complaint with the court and you will serve it upon the other party. So this is...
Okay, once I file it, it's gonna be on record, and I'm gonna save it the way it's supposed to be saved. Knowing the judge here in Mecklenburg County, I won't get anything.
This is done using a process server. Sometimes the sheriff in your hometown can do it for you, or there are private companies that will charge maybe $50 or $100 to go personally hand the complaint and the summons to the other person in the lawsuit. The summons is the document that says, here is your complaint, you have to respond to it by X date in this particular court. And it is served like in a packet with the complaint on the other person in the lawsuit. Your process server will send you back an affidavit, which is a sworn statement saying, I served this person at their house.
Yes. I'm suing for $2,000 because I got to get my car at the pound, and it was not necessary to impound it in the first place. It was just a waste of my time.
So at X time on X date. Or it will say, I wasn't able to find this person because they were dodging me. If that's the case, there's a workaround.
No, we was face to face, eye to eye. I ain't even leave my car. He could have just told me to get back in the car and leave. Matter of fact, it was right across from the spot where we can get some to eat and drink at. I just stepped out to go get that. Wasn't even gonna be there 10 minutes.
After that process server sends you back the affidavit, you are off to the races. The ball is now in the court of the other party of the lawsuit, and you have initiated your lawsuit. So that's the first step in our So You're in a Lawsuit video series, which is how to initiate a lawsuit.
So you want to sue someone.
Yes.
What do? Well, the first easy step is hire a lawyer. Now, some people want to represent themselves. There are two types of courts in Alberta. There's the Court of Queen's Bench and there's the Provincial Court. provincial court for suing someone, you have a civil claim, and this is what people call it.
Well, I got my car impounded, but I want to sue because I think it was illegal to do it in that fashion. And in 2 seconds, I mean, I wasn't there that long. It wasn't even enough. I hopped out the car and it was just, the dude just ran over and booted it. He still could have just told me to leave. I could have avoided all this payment. All this, man. I told him I was there. The dude could have just told us to leave. He got 6 or 7 cars with boots on them, just hiding in the bushes, booting people if they park next to the club. And it's a food stand next to the club. We couldn't even go out. We couldn't even go walk and get something to eat right next to the little parking spot. They got signs up, but dude standing there in the parking lot. He could have just told us not to park there.
As small claims court, civil trial, same thing. Now, to start your lawsuit, in either case, what you have to do is pay your filing fee with your civil claim, which you have to fill out. It's important to fill it out properly because this is your legal document for suing someone.
I'm not worried about the money. I'm worried about how these people is treating us like we don't exist. Like whatever we say don't mean nothing to them.
You want to make sure you have all the parties' names right. You want to make sure you have your cause of action, the reason why you're suing someone. Once you have that filed, then you have about a year to serve the person that you're suing and follow the rules for service properly.
I had my lawyers again and talking to me about filing a lawsuit for getting my car towed.
Seem complex and, for the most of us, confusing. Civil lawsuits aren't actually too hard to understand. We broke down the basic steps of the civil lawsuit process to help our clients better understand what exactly is going on with a civil lawsuit, which is sometimes also called civil litigation, is a lawsuit based on non-criminal statutes, meaning it's a separate entity from a criminal proceeding.
It wasn't really a crime. It was just parking where I wasn't supposed to, next to a bar. It was like a fence and a bar, and on the other side of the fence it was like some parking spots. It was more than just my car, and my car went there 2 seconds before this guy decided to boot me. There's other people who was out there all night at the bar. They gonna have to step out and see that their car booted too. He even told a few other cars too. Like he was out there just waiting to boot people. Didn't even explain that he was, I mean, either way, if I'm gonna lose this, I still want to at least express myself because that was still rude as hell. That was still foul as hell. Like,
a civil lawsuit is a dispute that's handled legally by the courts, such as...
I mean, I didn't want to take it to no courtroom. I wanted my car back without paying for no toll fee that was unnecessary in the first place.
Civil litigation goes through specific steps or proceedings. First and foremost, you should consult with potential representatives for legal advice. You should also be sure that your case falls within the state statute of limitations. An open and honest consultation will give you the most accurate prediction of the outcome of your case. After an initial consultation, your civil lawsuit case will follow 4 common steps: pleadings, discovery, trial, appeal.
We need to that's our things in Florida in the area, and I can have you do this as long as possible.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Said to 9:20. We got 5 minutes.
Because it was unnecessary. Because I was standing next to my car. And matter of fact, he could have just told me to get back in the car. Don't park right there.
They got a sound system back.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're gonna make me pay for it anyway. That'll be a civil thing for me to do because I'm not getting the same respect in return.
Got all these things we can push them up and back, man.
How is your tax It's just for the officers in the tank.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Gay, you're not a lawyer, right?
That's correct, sir.
Oh. This is the way the I'm a traditionalist. We have a structure. We're going to follow that structure. The way the case will proceed is, first, the plaintiff has a right to make what's called an opening statement. In that statement, you don't get into detail what the evidence is going to be. The purpose of the opening statement is to inform me as to what this case is about. I can assure you that the only thing that I know about this case, I have read 2 transcripts that have been sent. Well, one transcript before Judge Bagley and the one that Mr. Mayhew sent me over the email. And I guess that was before what Judge Smith is. Okay. I've read those 2 things. Other than that, I know absolutely nothing about this case. So, the purpose of the opening statement is to let me know what the case is about, because I don't know.
He took my car when he didn't have to. I was standing next to my car. He could have just told me to get back in my car and leave.
After the plaintiff does that, then the defendant will have a right to make that opening statement. Then we will hear the evidence, and the plaintiff will proceed first because the plaintiff has the burden of proof, and will present witnesses or documentation. The witnesses will be sworn to tell the truth, will be examined by the plaintiff, and then the defendant will have a right to cross-examine those witnesses. Not make statements, but ask questions. Then after the plaintiff is finished, then the defendant will have a right to call witnesses, take the stand if they so desire, put under oath.
I parked next to the dude. He could have just said, hey, you're not allowed to park there. Instead of touching my car. Instead of making me pay $350.
They can tell me what they want to tell me, and then they will be subject to cross-examination by the plaintiff. After we've heard all the evidence, then we will give to the parties, plaintiff going first, since the plaintiff has the burden of proof, going first and tell me and argue the case to me, and then the defendant will have a right to argue the case to me, and then the plaintiff will have the right of rebuttal. That's standard procedure that applies in all court proceedings.
Your Honor, if I may, just a brief clarification. My client filed a complaint counterclaims. So I just wanted to, he's a plaintiff also in that regard.
Even when they're right next to the car. It's not like it was there overnight. It went there for 2 hours, 1 hour. I stepped out for 5 seconds.
Allows you to sue someone up to $10,000 and take them to court on your own, inexpensively, to get back what you are owed. That is a suit for money owed. When I was in the North Carolina Senate, I worked to raise that from $5,000 to $10,000. I thought, inflation has kicked in over the last many years. Let's get the jurisdiction of that court knocked up higher. You go before a North Carolina magistrate judge. You present your case. You have a few minutes to do that. You need to bring whatever witnesses you may have that can help you with it, any documents, and you can show the court how you have been wronged, how someone owes you up to $10,000. Perhaps it's a debt that's not been paid. Perhaps they injured you in some type of accident. Perhaps they stole your property. To be compensated for it, and you've not been able to get restitution, maybe in a criminal court. So what do? You go to the clerk's office. You can also find those forms online. They are the small claims suit for money owed forms. You fill those out. They're literally a one-pager, and you file them. You pay the filing fee, which is minimal. You then have the sheriff serve them. You have to pay a small fee for that, and you get a court date. You go to court and you prove your case. It is not beyond a reasonable doubt, but by the greater weight of the evidence, which in layman's terms is what's more likely than not to have happened. So you do have a burden of proof there, and it is on you. That means you need to bring with you any witnesses you have. You need to bring with you any documentation you have. And of course, you do have the power to subpoena people if you need to do that, but hopefully you've got willing witnesses who will show up and help you prove your case.